Hi everyone. In Pre-Calculus Lesson 2.2, we talked about some things that you could do with a graphing calculator. So in our example, it said graph the functions f of x equals x to the n for n equals 2, 4, and 6 in the viewing rectangle -2, 2 by -1, 3. So what I do is I go to my y equals menu and I type in x to the second power, because this says x to the n, and n is 2. And then in y2, I typed in x to the fourth power, because n is also 4. And then in y3, I typed in x to the sixth power, because n is also 6. Okay, so that's how I dealt with this part of it. Then I hit the window button. And in the window button, I'm going to change this. These are my x values because they come first. So the x min is -2. So you would type -2. Then you hit enter and you go down to the x max value and you make that 2 because that's the maximum. You skip the x scale and you go to the y min and that becomes -1. And then you go down to y max and that becomes a 3. Okay, so your graph should look like this when you're done. Now, let's take a look at this next example so you can see me type it in. So it says graph the functions f of x equals x to the n for n equals 1, 3, and 5. So I'm going to go back to my y equals menu. I'm going here, and I'm going to make this x to the first power. I'm going to go down to y2 and make it x to the third power. I'm going down to y3. I'm going to make it x to the fifth power. Okay? Next, I'm going to play with the window settings. They said -2 to 2 and -2 to 2. So on my window, my x min is -2, my x max is 2. My y minimum is going to be -2. My y max is going to be 2. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the graph and see what that does for me. Okay, so notice what happens. We have a straight line. Our next power up went like this, the red line, and then the next power up was this black line. So they all have this general shape where they're in this quadrant and then they're in this quadrant. And most of these odd functions are going to have this kind of almost n-like shape. All the even functions will be shaped like a U. Okay, so that's it for this video. Let me know if you have trouble with your graphing calculator, and I'll try to help you with that.